Now, ladies and gentlemen, as most of you know, with Counter-Strike 2's full release back in October of 2023, immediately CSGO servers were shut down and Valve released a statement stating support for this version of CSGO will end on January 1st of 2024. And until last week, CSGO was still playable with friends. You could see all your skins. By booting up the game, you could see your main character or operator on the main screen. In the chance that you did launch CSGO anytime after this most recent Call to Arms update on February 6th for Counter-Strike 2, inventories wouldn't load, and up until today, servers seem to be down all across the board. That being for the legacy version of Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Players are confused if at this point is CSGO gone for good, or is this just now the new current state of the game since CS2 is Valve's main focus, at least in the Counter-Strike department. Today's video, we're going to take one final look at CSGO, unless Valve were to update it, which I think is highly unlikely. We'll take a look at what's still possible, why it shut down, and lastly answer a question. Should have Valve kept CSGO a playable game, at least while CS2 first came out? Today's video sponsor is SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is a buying and trading marketplace where you can trade off your old skins for something new. All you do is log in with Steam, then you trade the skins you no longer want to pick up the new skins you want to obtain. Any remaining cash from trading goes to your balance that can be used in any future trade. By using my code MANDO, you can get up to a free $5, and if you choose to deposit alongside using my code, you get a total of a 35% deposit bonus. With SkinsMonkey's large variety of skins, they also offer daily, weekly, and monthly giveaways. If interested, it'll be the top of the link in the description below. Firstly, I want to quickly mention how you can access this version of Counter-Strike Global Offensive. This being for now, but anytime in the future. All you have to do is go to betas and select the legacy version of Counter-Strike, and then depending on your internet, it should be done, as it is only 12 gigs. Now, booting up CSGO for the first time in months, you're going to be greeted with several new messages. The first one being CSGO is the current and final build of CSGO, and support for this will have ended on January 1st of 2024. As of recording today's video on February 12th, which is probably the same day you're going to see it, we're already one whole month past its date where Valve actually said they'd support the game. The second message that pops up is a message from Valve saying what's new with the most recent CS2 Call to Arms update. It seems like as of recording today's video, I've noticed another message that pops up in the bottom left where the store originally appeared in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. It says you have launched a legacy version of the game that is no longer supported. Please upgrade to the most version of Counter-Strike to access your inventory, loadout, and matchmaking, and other online features of the game. So this pretty much states and says that Valve is no longer supporting CSGO, but if you want to access anything that you had in CSGO, you now have to download CS2, which does make a whole lot of sense, and CS2 is pretty much CSGO remastered. Now, the background footage you're going to be watching for the majority of today's video is one of the many lost features from CSGO going on to CS2, that being Training Day, or Training Mode. Very similar to an opening mission in a campaign for a Call of Duty game, for instance. It shows off the basic features of how to move, shoot, and throw nades, but at the very end it also has an aim course to try and beat the record of completion. Now, the footage of you guys watching me play this, it's the first time I've played this probably since I first booted up CSGO for the first time almost a decade ago. This would be a really cool feature to add inside Counter-Strike 2 to show off how fast players can complete this without cheating, of course, which that would probably be a really large issue until Valve adds a new anti-cheat. Inside Counter-Strike 2 today, they have something similar where you can replay Training Day, but it just puts you in a competitive game. It's not a new map, there's no person talking to you like an operator was inside CSGO. It's just pretty much competitive and how to play the game with basic instructions that pop up on your screen. Now, a question that emerged back when CS2 first fully released, but also right now when CSGO is now down, is can you still play workshop maps? The answer is yes, but I believe the only ones you can play are the previous ones you downloaded from CSGO, as right now, and has been for the past few months, the workshop is now only applicable for maps for Counter-Strike 2. I'm not really 100% sure if you can boot old maps, for example, in the workshop, that being maps like Train, Lake, or maps that are just not available in Counter-Strike 2. If you go to the workshop and under the category Official Maps by Valve, you can see all the maps created by Valve and added to CSGO over the years, which you can download, and we're going to see right now if this actually works for Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Just for the video's sake, I'm going to download Bank, because I know I don't have this downloaded. You click that to your library, and now as we're here on CSGO, you can see that Bank is here, but the picture is not loading, so I'm not really sure here. I'm not really knowing what to expect. So far, things seem to be going good, and this actually looks like it's going to work for CSGO. And just like that, you can actually still access everything from Bank with the old buy menu, and now we're here in the map with a measly 360 FPS, which is probably 200 more than I'd get in any map inside CS2, which is kind of sarcasm. And another small thing I want to mention is everything aside from your crosshair, your sensitivity, and maybe some of your HUD settings, the rest has reset. So if you have certain weapons equipped like the M4A4 over the A1S or the USP over the P2K, that is going to be reset to default alongside your view model. Now, heading back into the commentary, most of us, including myself, have wondered why Valve shut down CSGO. Long story short is Valve didn't want to split up the community. Going back to a PC Gamer article where they interviewed Valve, Valve intended for it to be like this from the beginning of development. that being for Counter-Strike 2. Valve thought and knew as soon as they started making CS2 that when CS2 is fully ready to be launched, CSGO was no longer going to be a thing, because this would divide the community once again. Having two different games would lead to two different communities. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but if the devs are dumping a bunch of money into it, this would also make the transition easier for most people. Imagine with CS2's release back in October and CSGO still being available to play matchmaking, but also services like Faceit just for the next 2 years or so, and then all of a sudden they shut off support for CSGO. The transition for those people going into CS2 would be extremely difficult. With Valve releasing CS2 in the state that it was and having CSGO as a viable option, I think next to no one, including professional players, would have made the switch even if we're given the choice. CSGO was by no means perfect, but up until this recent patch with the recent Call to Arms update, it had some major problems and still does. Essentially, Valve didn't want what happened to 1.6 to Source to ever happen again in any future Counter-Strike game, let alone Counter-Strike 2, otherwise known as the Great Divide from 1.6 to Source. There's two different communities, one that gets more support from the other, mainly from Valve, but also two completely different pro scenes where one has a bunch of people watching it, where the other one, people are just mixed on what to watch. And that's what would have happened here inside CS2 if Valve didn't make that call, at least in my opinion. Now, some other things I want to mention and will continue to mention in commentaries later this week, that being a big mistake that Valve made calling Counter-Strike 2's full release, well, a full release, when it really should have been called an extended beta or an extended limited test. Calling Counter-Strike 2 when it first came out and fully released back in October a full release, in my opinion, was wrong, and a lot of the community can't agree with that. Valve going from the limited test to a full release had no difference between the two, aside from a couple bug fixes. There was also no new additional content. The optimization was piss poor, and even till today, it's not the greatest. Now, Valve's reasoning for all this was one, not to divide the community, but also to make the transition easier, and most importantly, having us, the players, be the best game testers possible based off of how many there are of us. Having 1 million people play test CS2 and report bugs and report small issues here and there would be a whole lot better than just a couple 100,000 people if the communities were split, or people Valve would have to hire that don't really know Counter-Strike. We're just the best game testers in that case, since we know CS so well. Now, let me know what you guys think down below. At least for me, I'd love to see Training Day from CSGO somehow implemented inside CS2 one day. There's a lot of memories on CSGO I'm never gonna forget, but Counter-Strike 2 is here, and it's here to stay. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Stay positive, sexy. I'm out, guys. Peace.